Greetings, 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 everyone. Steve, Paracords of Kindness. How are you doing today? Hopefully, your weaving's been happy. Okay, what I have for you today. We've all seen the Cobra belly bracelet. Both of these are type 3 or 550. This one is 550 with 275 on the edge. We've all seen these. Many of us have probably made them. But I have taken it to the next level. And I haven't seen a tutorial for this yet, so I figured I would make one. And I've had a few people ask, what am I talking about? These are made with 2 cords. But these are 3-cord Cobra bellies. I'll hold them up so you can see. And I've even made a 4-cord Cobra belly. Now granted, it's 4 cords, but I've used 2 colors. 2 cords of one color, 2 cords of the other. So it gets an alternating effect. This one is a blackout. All 4 cords are black. And I've had people ask me, how do you do this? Well, it's the same as the 3-cord and the 4-cord. It's the same thing. You're just adding an extra cord. And you got to be a little careful, especially when all your cords are the same color. But if you want to know how to do it, stick around and I'll show you. Okay, folks, I got my jig set up, I got my camera, I got everything set up, and hopefully I'll be able to show you how to do this. Like I said at the beginning of most of my videos, I am not a filmmaker. I don't have the best equipment. Lighting's bad, camera's not the best, sometimes it gets out of focus, and for all that I apologize. But what I do know how to do is make paracord bracelets. And hopefully, I can show you today how I do this. Okay, now I showed you in a little introduction a 4-cord. Now this one just happens to be 2 colors, but it's still 4 cords, right? And I also showed you the 3-cord, and this was 3 separate colors for each cord. What I'm going to be doing today right here is a 3-cord, 3-color, right? Now, if you want to do the 4 one, it's the same thing. You just add an extra cord in there. Right? And I'm going to show you how I did all this. Okay. It's basically a 2-strand core setup with a double cow hitch. If you don't know how to do that, I'll leave the description for my video, or I'll leave the link to the video in the description. Okay. But I'll say this. Before you tighten up these 2 cow hitches at the top, that's where you take your extra cord and you run them through there. The halfway point of both of these, this is black, this is gray, and this is Colonial blue, right? It's the halfway point of these is set up right here. So when you go to size it and you set all this up, you get your halfway point here. Then you tighten all this up, right? And that's where you get your 3 cords. 3 on one side, 3 on the other. Almost an octopus. If we had one more cord, if it was the 4-cord one, it would definitely be an octopus. Okay, so with all that said, got that set up. Okay, measurements. Well, I'll give you measurements. I know a lot of people. I'll put it in the description, but I'll go ahead and tell you. I'm making this for me. I have a 7-inch wrist. The Colonial blue, which is the core strand, I cut an 8-foot piece. Okay, and then the other 2, I've cut a 6-foot piece. Each of these is 6 feet. Now, that's probably going to be more than I need, but like I always say, I would rather have enough to finish the weave and have scrap to go in a bucket than to get close to the end and not have enough to finish it, because I am not going to splice cords together to finish a bracelet. If I get down there and I don't have enough, I'm going to stop and go cut more cord and start completely over. But that's me. Okay. I'll say this. Now, I know everybody's weaving style is different. For those who've watched my videos, I'll tell you. Neat, clean and tight. Those are my principles. I like everything neat, clean, and tight. I like to have all my cords end or terminate at the cut and burn on the back side, right? And I pull everything as tight as I can. Now, I know not every weave can be done that way, but this one, you can pretty much pull it pretty tight. Okay, now with that said, I'll say this. Now, this is not the same for everybody. I know everybody's weaving style is a little different, but my add to measurement for this bracelet is approximately 1 5/8 inches, right? And I'll show you. I'll show you the one I've already made. It's this one, right? It's this one right here, right? I'll put this on and I'll show you. It's not too snug that it's going to leave marks on my arm. And it doesn't flop around. I can get my finger up under there, right? That's the way I like them, right? And the add to measurement is 1 5/8 inches. Okay, now, for those who may not know what I mean when I say an add to measurement, right? Like I said, a 7-inch wrist. You're going to measure your jig from the connection between the male and the female end here to the male and the female connection down at the bottom, right? Now, you're not going to measure it 7 inches because that would make the bracelet too small to fit around your wrist. You have to take into consideration the thickness of the bracelet, right? So you take the 7-inch of my wrist and I add to that 1 5/8 inches. That's what I measure on my jig to get the total length of the bracelet so that it'll fit in the end. Make sense? I know a lot of YouTube videos don't give you that add to measurement. And like I say, that depends on a lot of factors. On your weaving style, how tight you pull, all that kind of stuff. What size cord you're using, all those things. But for me, I'm just kind of giving you a rough estimate of where to start. Like I said, 8 feet of Colonial blue, 6 feet of gray, 6 feet of black for a 7-inch wrist and an add to of 1 5/8 inches. We got all that? Okay, like I said, I'll put all that in the description below. Okay, now, with that said, I'm going to just start. This is not hard. If you know how to do a Cobra knot or Cobra, it's the same thing. You're just having to do it multiple times. You kind of got to be mindful. Don't get confused. And I'll show you the one little problem I saw with this. While weaving, I'll show it to you when we get to it. Okay, we'll just start. Let me zoom in. Hopefully you'll be able to see this a little bit better. And I'll take this a little slow. Okay. Let's get our cords out. We're going to start with our 2 main cords. Our primary cord, and our secondary cord, and our tertiary cord. 1, 2, and 3. And I'll say this. This cord, if you look right here, you see how we've got the blue, then the gray, then the black. The black is the very top. The black cord is going to be the one here. I'll show you. I'll show you in this bracelet so you can see this. Okay? How we see right here, the green, that's the one that's kind of in the middle. Right? And then you have the gold and the maroon. But you see how the maroon is the one closest to the buckle. Like in this instance, it's the black, right? That's the one that's going to be, whichever color is closest to this buckle, the top one, that way, is going to be the one that's going to be on the outside. You see how the gold is on the outside, so to speak? Does that make sense? You have the green in the middle, then the maroon, then the gold. All right, that's just the orientation of the way it's laid out. Okay, now, with all that said, we'll go ahead and start. I'm going to start, and this, like I said, this is going to be the primary cord, and this is going to be the lead cord right here. We're going to go here. Let's back out just a little bit. Why we're going to do this here? Let me do this. I'm going to angle this camera just a little bit. Try to keep this all in frame. You don't need to see the buckle and all the jig to do this. Okay. Take this cord. You're going to go over the top right here. And you're going to take your other one. You're going to go over there. You're going to go under the 2 cord strands and up through here. So that just like a normal Cobra weave. I'm going to cinch it up. Push it up. Pull it tight. Okay, now, next off, we're going to go to our second cord, which is the gray. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to go, make sure that you go underneath this blue. And then you cross over. Right here. Now this gray on this side, it comes across the top of this blue. And across the top of the gray. You go underneath, just like before, underneath the 2 core strands, and you come through this loop. And then you pull it, push it up, pull it tight, push it up. Okay, hang on. We're going to do the same thing, but this time we're going to do it with the black. We're going to take the black. We're going to come underneath. And we're going to cross over these 2. And the black on this side is going to go over these 2. See, this side it goes under, this side it goes over. And then it goes over this black one also. It goes underneath, and it comes out the hole. Push it up, cinch it tight. Now, when you go to cinch it, this first one, you know, we all know the first little repetitions, the first weave at the top of the bracelet's not going to look right. It never looks sit straight or whatever. But we're going to pull that as tight as we can. Okay, now, here's the deal. If you look, when you're doing this, you see these cords. You've got the blue, the gray, and the black. 1, 2, 3. That's the order you're going to do them in, right? And these on this side, for anybody who does a Cobra weave, Solomon knot, Cobra knot, whatever you want to call it, these on this side right now, they're kind of angled up this direction. Now the 3 on this side, notice you got blue, gray, and black. Same order. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? Now these on this side, they're angled down. You see what I'm saying? Okay. Now, the trick is this. If you look, you see how this blue one is kind of not sitting. These 3 right here are coming out at the same angle. Perfect. These 3 over here, they're not. The 2 gray and 3 black are right there together. But that blue one's kind of sitting down at a funny angle. That's what you got to be mindful of, is that. When you go to pull it tight, that top cord always kind of wants to get out of whack. And if you don't pay attention, you'll grab, instead of grabbing cord 1, cord 2, and cord 3, they'll get out of the wrong sequence, and you'll grab the wrong one. Right? First couple of times I made this, that was what I learned from experience. You got to be careful. So always reach up there, and you can just feel them with your thumbs and get them in the order they're supposed to be. Alright, okay. Now we do the same thing. But this time, with this one over here, we're going to go underneath everything. Underneath the gray and the black. And then we're going to go over the 2 core strands. Now this blue, you're going to come over the top of everything. Over the top of the gray and the black, and over top of this blue. And you're going to go underneath, just like your normal Cobra bar. And you're going to pull it through. And you're going to cinch it up. Now, I've noticed this too. This blue, this little blue loop right here at the top, kind of push it back that way. So it'll sit right and everything will kind of lay down flat like you want it. When you go to tighten it up, just kind of take your finger and push it over a little bit. Push it up toward the buckle. We all know this. Right? Okay, now we're going to do the next one. We're going to take the next one. Cord number 2, which is gray. We're going to go underneath here, underneath these 2, and then over the top, cross it over, right? And now this one is going to go over the top of everything, over the top of the black, the blue, and the gray. Then we go under the 2 core strands and out through the loop on the other side. We pull it tight. We push it up. We pull it tight. Okay, now, straighten them all out. Same thing. Now we're going for cord number 3. And you see how each one of them, as you do it, number 3 is now at the top of this stack of cords. See, that's all, it just repeats itself all the way down. Okay, now, like I said, we're going to take this and go underneath these two, over the 2 cord strands, right? Underneath these two, over the cord strands, and then this black one goes over the top of everything, over top of the blue and the gray and the black. And then we're going to push it underneath the cord strands and out through the loop. And then we're going to cinch it up, push it up, pull it tight. And that's all there is to it. Now, if you look, like I said, that top cord, the cords are, because the way, it may not happen for you, but I know it does for me because I pull everything and push everything and try to get everything tight. So, you see how this blue and the gray is sitting correctly, but the blue and the black is sitting correctly, and that gray is kind of off all by itself. If you're not careful and you're not paying attention, especially if you're trying to do this when the cords are all the same color, you'll get these out of order. 1, 2, and 3. You'll get them out of order, and it'll mess your weave up. So you reach back there, you make sure. Now, we got blue on top, gray, and black. And you can always check. You look right here at the top. You started with blue, you went gray, you went black. Blue, gray, black. Blue, gray, black. Makes sense? Same thing on this side. It kind of gets out of whack, the sequence of them, but you can always check it. Blue, gray, black right here. You started with a blue, a gray, and a black. And then your next series was blue, gray, and black. Over here, make sure blue, gray, black. See? Okay, now, you're going to look at it. Now, this side, we're going to come underneath everything. And the way you can remember this, I know if you've done a Cobra bar enough and you got enough experience with it, it will come natural. But on this one, it kind of can be confusing. If you stop and you look right here where this black is, you'll see that this black cord is going across. Here, let's see if I can zoom in just a little bit. You'll see what I'm saying. Maybe you can see this. Let me get my handy dandy Paracord laser pointer out. Okay, if you look close, you can see this. Maybe not. But you see this black cord is going across these cord strands. This is it right here. You notice it's going up under everything right here. Right? It's coming from underneath and going across the top. And that's the end of your 1, 2, 3 sequence. We're starting back over. That's how you know. You start with 1, and it goes underneath. You're alternating the side. Make sense? So you go under here and over here. And this one is going to go over the top of the blue or the gray. The blue is going to go over the top of the gray, the black, and this blue. Right? We'll go underneath everything and up through this loop right here. Cinch it up a little bit. And push it up. And like I said, this one right here, this first one, kind of push it with your thumb to tighten it up. And that kind of pushes this blue cord running up and down. What you're trying to do is you're trying to move it over just a little bit to push it. That's what I'm doing there. And it causes it to seat into the position correctly. Okay, again, take this one. We're going to go underneath the blue and the black and over the top of the 2 cord strands. Now this gray is going to go over to the top of everything. And then underneath and through the loop. Cinch. Push it up pull it tight. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. Again, we're going to take this black one. We're going to go underneath the blue and the gray over the top of the core strands. Now this black one goes over the top of everything. The blue, the gray, and the black. Over the top. And then it goes underneath the two blue core strands and up through this loop on this side. Pull it through. Cinch it up. Push it up. And wrench it down. Right? Now, look again. If you look right here, you see these three cords, they're not wanting to sit right. Like I said, it's because I push it up and pull it so tight that they get out of whack. These three on this side, the side that are kind of angled up, they're fine. But these ones on this side, they'll want to get, because I'm pushing it and pulling everything so tight, they get out of whack. So you just reach up there and you make sure. Like I said at the very top. If you look, again, you started with a blue, a gray, and a black. A blue, a gray, and a black. A blue, a gray, and a black. So when they get out of whack, all you got to do is look back up there. After you've done your 3 repetitions and you're going to the other side, make sure you get the blue. Because they will get out of sequence. But that's all there is to this. Right? Now, I'll do it one more time. I'll do this kind of quick. We're going to go underneath everything, over, and through. Remember, pushing this one over, pushing it up, wrenching it down. Underneath. Make sure everything's straight. One more time. We'll go underneath, across, over, just like that. When we pull this one, make sure that blue one's going to seat right. Whatever cord number 1 is, make sure it's going to seat right there. Pull it tight. Okay. Underneath, over the top, push it up, pull it tight. Does that make sense? So we got that? Okay. Now, I'll say this. That's all there is. Just repeat it down to the bottom. Now, when you get to the bottom, it's a little tricky because you got all these chords. And for me, anyway, here, let me back out just a little bit. For me, when I do one of these bracelets here, I'll show you these 2 that I've done so far. I'll show you this when I get there. But for me, these, like I said, neat, clean, tight. I will do my best to have, no matter how many chords I have, I will try my best to have all the chords. I'm going to tell you this right now. They're all going to terminate on this back side. You're not going to see me cut one and burn it right here in the front. That's not going to happen because that's not neat. Right? That's my opinion. That's the way I do it. But I'm going to wrap it around and back weave it up under there somehow to get it to be, it's going to be cut and burned on the back. Now, this is what I try to do on all my bracelets, is have all those cords terminate at the same spot. So there's one big lump of plastic where you cut and burn it. Hopefully you can see that right there. It's in one spot, right? And the reason is I cut and burn them, and I get them right there in one spot, and I cut them, and when I go to burn them, it melts all the ends together. And there's no way that that's going to come loose. Make sense? Now, thing is, you've got 6 cords, and you're trying to get them all wrapped around to the back, me anyway, trying to get them all wrapped around to the back and cut and burn them in one spot. It can be tricky. And if I don't know if you can see it, but it adds a little bit of thickness right there at the end of the bracelet. It's not as thick here as it is here, right? And that's where you got to take, like I said, the measurement, the add to. It's mostly because of the thickness of this spot right here. Makes sense? Now, if you do one with 4 cords, that little lump back there, it's even no bigger. You see what I'm saying? This is where they all got terminated. See, it's not so. The thickness is relatively the same. 4 cord or the other one I just showed you, 3 cords. It's relatively the same thickness. It's right here at the end because of the way I terminate these. Because of that right there. But you can see I have them all terminating in the same spot. Makes sense? But when I get to the end, I'll show you how I finish it off. And, it can be a little tricky because you're trying to get it all in there. So, when I get to that point, just be patient with me. But, like I said, thanks for watching so far. And, I hope you learned how to do it. But stick with me. I'll be back in just a second. Okay, folks. I'm back. I've got it weaved all the way down to the end. Except for the last one. I got room for one more. I figured I'd come back and I'd show you how I do all this. And like I said, it's kind of so it might, just be patient. It might take me a second to get this just right. Okay. I'll say this. I told you I was weaving this from my wrist, 7-inch wrist. I cut 8 feet of the one that was the core strand and then 6 feet of the other 2 strands. And you can see I've got about a foot on each side. So, that's okay to me. I'd rather have enough than have scrap, like I said, to cut, but instead of not having enough to finish the weave. So, just take that into consideration. All right? A foot on each side of extra. Now, with that said, I'm going to take this off the jig, and I'm going to do the last one. And I'll go ahead and do it. I'll say this, too. I'll just so you know, we started the first one, the core strand, and the first one we did, cord number 1, I guess, was blue. Now, you're not always going to end up as blue as the last one, so just be mindful of that. It's just wherever it ends is where it ends. And it just so happens that black is going to be the last one for me. So, on this last one, I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to zoom in, I'll show you. I'll do this last weave, and then I'll take it off the jig. Okay? Now, like I said, the way I like doing these is I want to have all my strands wrapped around the back. Right? If I've got a video that I've done talking about how I end a Cobra bracelet. Not necessarily a Cobra belly bracelet, but just a Cobra bracelet. That way, you don't have one cut and burn on the top, one on the back. I have them both on the back side. And that's kind of the principle. If you've seen that video, that's kind of the principle I'm going with here, right? Okay, so on this last setup, what we would normally, the normal reputation would be to take this black and to go underneath and across the core strands. But in order to go ahead and get these cords angled toward the back, I'm not going to take this black one underneath. I'm going to bring it over the top. Right? So I'm going to go over the top of these and over the top of the core strands, which you can't quite see them because there's not much room right there. But I'm going to just add this one in there. And then this one is going to go over the top of the 2 core strands. And over the top of this one. And it's going to wrap underneath. And I'm going to pull it through the loop, right? Now this one, I'm not going to pull it so tight because I'm going to need to get back there in just a second. But I'm going to pull it just tight enough, right? Okay, now we see how these two they're angling down and toward the back. And these are 2, right? So, with that said, I'm going to take it off the jig and I'll show you how to do this. feel the tension release. Hit the jig out of the way. Okay, now this is where it kind of gets tricky because here, I'm going to back it out just a little bit. That way I can hopefully stay in frame a little bit. Okay, like I said, top of the bracelet, and this is the display side that would be seen. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over. This is going to be the back side. This is going to be against our skin, right? The non-display side. So you can see over here, you've got all these cords. If you look at it, let's see. If you look at it like this, you'll see what I'm talking about. This is the display side, non-display side. You see how all these cords are kind of angling toward the back? That's the way we want it. These not so much, but because I ran that black across it, it's kind of, they're going toward the back. That's what we want. We want them all to be back here. So that our cut and burn mark is going to be on the back and it won't be seen. Okay? So, like I said, we're going to lay it out. Display side down. Now, if we can get it to focus. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom back in just a little bit. Okay, now this last one, this black one, that's the last one we did. Like I said, if you haven't watched that video on how I end a Cobra bracelet, how I cut and burn a Cobra bracelet and hide it, go back and watch it. Because that's the basis for what I'm about to do. And it can be confusing when you got all these cords out here. Okay, so what we're going to do, basically this one right here, this black cord, I know it's probably hard to say, this black cord is the one running across the back, right? Now, this black cord, every one of these cords is going to get tucked, back woven up under that black cord. Does that make sense? So, I'm going to take my hemostats, I'm going to just kind of stick them right here. And it's going to loosen that cord up just enough that I can get up under it. Right? See that big loop right there? Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the two on this side. I'm going to just feed them up through there. Right now we're just trying to get them up through there. Not trying to pull anything tight, anything like that. We're just trying to get them up, get them through there. Leave this black one sitting out. Leave this black one sitting out for right now. Okay, now these two on this side, we're going to run them up under there. Now what I'll do, if you can see this, see the black and the gray coming from here? They wrap around. Wait a minute. Let me get a hold of them right. Black and gray, the black and gray coming out right here, it wraps around. I'm going to keep them over here on this side. That way I just keep orientation of what cord is what. And these two right here, we'll pull them over here. That way we'll know. Okay, now what we're going to do, is like I said, this black cord is this right here. We're going to kind of pull that, just kind of snug that down a little bit. Okay, now. I'm going to take both of them, kind of just hand tighten them. All right. Now we're going to take both of these, loosen it up just a little bit, both the black ones, and run up under here. We say that? Like I said, we're not so much trying to get it tight right this second. We'll do that in a minute. Now we got them all up under there. All three of them that come out this side, they're curling around, they're going up under that one black right there. And the three coming from this side, blue, gray, and black, they're all going up under there. Right? So you got them all right here. Now, what we're going to do now So I'm going to take my handy dandy jeweler's pliers. I use this tool more than anything else in my arsenal. And I say this in every video because I use them in every video. They're conical shaped, meaning they're tapered. When you shut them, they line up. But the thing is, they have no teeth on them, and they're blunted on the end. They don't have a point. So you can grab a cord with it and pull. And if you slip off because that has no teeth, it's less likely to snag the cord. But I will use these to tighten stuff up. And I'll show you how I do this. You come around here. Now this one on this side, this black one on this side, we're going to find it on this back. It's that one right there. Now we're going to kind of pull it and tighten that one up a little bit. All right? Now, this other one, what we're going to do here, because it's crossing over itself so many times, the way we're going to do this, right here where it comes across and it goes through this loop, this piece right here is what I'm going to grab a hold of. Right there. I'm going to pull it. Holding the bracelet and pulling that cord this way. It's tightening it up right across the front. Okay? Once you get it pretty tight, you can take it, keep pressure on it, and you can kind of roll it, and that'll tighten it up even more. And then when you do that, you can take this one and it'll pull that slack out. Make sense? Okay. Now, we're going to come back here again. Now, all the blues and the grays that are going up on there, this is the way I do it. To make sure that this black piece kind of stays tight, because I just tightened it up. That's what I was doing when I was pulling it with the pliers. It's tightening up. To help maintain so that stays tight, while I do this, I'm going to kind of hold my finger here and press down on it. And I'm going to take the blue and the grays over here and kind of pull them. And all these little curly cuties, we're going to try to get all that excess out and pull it up under here. So all we're doing is trying to tighten this thing up on the end. Like I said, this can be tricky, especially when you're doing a 4-cord, like that black one I showed you at the very beginning. The blackout one's 4 cords and they're all black. Yeah, this part right here was a little tricky. Okay, we got it in there pretty good. I'm going to come around here. I'm going to do this one more time. This black right here. Is that it? No. On the other side. Yeah. On this side, you're going to grab that black. And it's going to tighten it up right there even more. Now that we got all our cords up in there kind of tight, we're going to tighten that one black one that's running across there. Like I said, you grab a hold of it and just kind of roll it. Now, to get this excess out, you'll find that one black cord. It's that one right there. Now, We got that thing. It's pretty tight right there. Everything's pretty tight the way we want it. Do it one time. Hold everything, put some pressure on it, and pull all these cords again. Just make sure. Because first one I made like this, I didn't get all this stuff real tight. When I went and cut and burned it, it didn't. It worked, but it was not to my standards, if you will. Okay, now that we got that in there, let it be and don't touch it because you want it to stay tight. This is one of those, I'm sure you've had it happen, where you go to cut your cord or whatever and it feeds back through back through the hole, and you're like, that's what we try to prevent. So we let it sit there and we get our stuff out of the way and we prepare our smoothing tool. I use the end of my knotter's tool. But I have recently bought this. I've been kind of branding my work. I've got a leather stamp in the shape of a heart. I am Paracords of Kindness. And if my little cut and burn spot is big enough, I'll use this. If not, I don't use it. But we're going to sit this over here and get it to stand upright. Have your smoothing tool ready. You're not fumbling for it. Get your scissors out. I tell this to everybody. Invest in a good set of shears. Not some old cheap ones that break eventually. That's why I get metal ones, because that handle will not break. Okay, now. Here we go. I'm gonna back out just a little bit. Right? Okay. Now this one it's gonna be a little tricky to cut all these. This way you need some sharp shears. Right. Now all these, I'm going to just lay them over here to the side for right this second. Now, if we look, I'm going to zoom in. I don't want to handle it too much because I don't want anything to come loose. But I'm going to zoom in just so you can see this. Now imagine, this is 3 cords. So you got 3 cords. So you got 3 on one side, 3 on the other. So you got 6 cords and they're all coming right here together. Now just imagine if it's 4 cords. Like that black one I did, that was 4 cords. So you got 4 on one side, 4 on the other. So you got 8 cords and they're all coming to this one spot. So imagine this cut and burn on that one. And you can see I kind of got the heart one on there. Part of it. But when we do this, we try not to burn any of the rest of the cord. We only want to get that right there hot. So we're going to get our scissors out of the way. I'm going to back out so you can see me do this. Get our smoothing tool right here. That's what I'm going to do. Set my scissors here so my smoothing tool won't roll. I'm going to take my lighter. I'm going to do this. Okay. Like I said, you got all of them right there together. I can tell by looking at them that the ends of them didn't meld together really well. which that's fine because you see these little hole looking thing? That's where the cords didn't meld together really well. So I'll do this again. Now I'll eventually put this on it because that's going to be a big enough spot. I'm going to do this one more time. Be careful because we're trying not to burn this black piece that's running across. Yeah, we're trying not to burn that at all. So we're holding our flame right down here and angling it up this way. Does that make sense? There we go. Now, I'm going to take that. See, it's got a little heart on it now. That's Paracords of kindness. Made with love and kindness. Now, give it a second to cool off. And we'll do the ultimate test. I'll say this, all these cords right here, they will go in the scrap bucket, and I will burn the ends of these. Just so everybody can see this. I always talk about doing this. Get it hot, get it melted, let it sit there for a second, reach up here and just, all you're doing is smoothing that end out. Right. Okay, this should be cooled off. Now, just so you can see this, like I said in the beginning, you see how it's not real thick, but when you get down at the end, because of all those cords, it's kind of thick right there at the end. And there's where that add to measurement. That's why that add to is somebody I know was going, my goodness, he's adding to a lot to that. That's why right there. Okay, now we're gonna go to the ultimate test. I haven't put it on a jig. I haven't done anything, or not a jig. Got a sizing mandrel over here, so I can make sure before I send these out to a customer, I can make sure that it's going to fit them, and I can send them a picture and show them that it fits. But I haven't even done that. All I've done is size it on the jig, and you're going to see this. First time, I'm going to put it on my wrist, and we're going to see how this thing fits. I'm going to bend it a little bit because this thing's stiff. Like I said, I do them not neat, clean, and tight, and it's kind of tight. Bend it up. I normally have this against my chest when I'm doing this. Most people, that's how they put one of these on. I don't know if I can get it to. Get my finger under, just the tip of my fingertip underneath there. Like I said, it's not too loose that it's going to flop around, but it's not so tight that it's going to leave marks on my arm. But there you go. That's a 3-cord Cobra belly. It could be made the same way. You just add initially another cord going through those 2 cow hitches at the beginning. You put 3 cords through there, and then the cord that's the core strands. That'll make it 4 total. Like I say, you just be mindful of all the little things I showed you. But that's how you do it. It's not that hard if you just have some patience and you pay attention. But there you go. Hopefully that helped. Hopefully that helped. If you liked the video, give us a like, give us a share, and subscribe. And I'll end this one like I end them all. Keep it neat, keep it clean, and keep it tight. Happy weaving, folks.